Hey there guys, Sean here from Momentum, and I'm going to show you 10 high protein foods that will help you build muscle and also help you burn fat at the same time. So why do you want to eat high protein based foods? Now we know that high protein based foods are easier for you to be able to keep fuller for longer. And if you can keep fuller for longer for the same amount of calories, that means you won't be eating as much things that aren't as desirable for you. That includes your snacks that might be putting you overweight, or even just those snacks that are making you go over your calories for the day. Now, if you don't know what you're eating in terms of what calories and macros, this isn't going to be the video for you. Head over to my page and there's a nutritional playlist for you that will teach you all about that. Now, if you get stuck, let me know. I will help you out if you comment on it. Other than that, today, I'm going to give you 10 foods that will help you boost your protein intake. Now, you want to have protein once again, like I mentioned. It will help you keep fuller for longer, recover faster. So let's get straight to it. So straight into it, the first one that you should have is probably the most obvious one that everyone always says. It's gonna be your red meat. It's gonna be things like beef. Now, I'm not gonna just say eat beef. What I'm gonna say for you is, I'm gonna tell you how I eat these foods and how I include it into my diet. Now, don't get me wrong, I really like a nice piece of steak, but at times it gets really hard to cook. Bring it to work, microwave it, it gets chewy, it's disgusting. So this is how I like to have my beef. I like it as beef mince. Now for those in the US, you probably say it's ground beef. It's the same thing, and it's just how you've actually made it. What we do is, and what I like to do is, turn it into a bit of a taco bowl. So what I mean by that is, put it in a pan, put some onions in there, season it with a taco mix and seasoning, because that taco seasoning actually is just salt, and it's also different types of herbs and spices, so you're not adding extra calories in. Just be aware it is sodium as well, so you do want to make sure that you can increase your water intake when you're doing this. What I do with that then is I'll combine it with some brown rice, and I have some sort of like burrito bowl taking to work. On a separate container, I'll have my fresh vegetables as well, pop it on top, and it's always something delicious for me to eat. So there you are, you have beef, and I like to use it as beef mince in terms of a burrito bowl. Hopefully this helps you out. Now the second one that we like to always use is chicken. Now don't get me wrong, chicken breast is probably what you're probably used to seeing, chicken breast and broccoli, chicken breast, broccoli and brown rice. It's not always the worst thing. It's about how you cook it. Now personally, I don't like using chicken breast anymore. Maybe it's because I'm traumatized from the times when I used to eat only chicken breast. What I like to do now is I like to use chicken thighs, season it, and also put it with my brown rice or some sort of carbohydrate and vegetable as well. Now, like I said, it's about how you season the food as well. So sometimes I like to use a light marinade. You would marinate it for a little bit in a bowl, and then you can put it into your air fryer or into a pan, or you can even bake it as well. Now, the only thing that you need to be aware of when you're marinating your meats is what sauce are you using. Now, over here in Australia, we have things like Master Foods and marinades like that, but you need to check what it's made of. I say this because marinades can be made of sugar-based, and that means you have to take it into your carbohydrate intake. Not saying that it's bad, it's just making sure you understand that you are taking in more carbohydrates by marinating your food. Now, if you don't want to do that, you can obviously use herb spices as well. That's obviously sodium, and some of it's also 0 calories, so why not? Make your food tasty. That's going to be the most important tip that I'm going to give you out of this whole video. Make your food tasty in smarter ways. Now, number 3, fish. I tend to not eat a lot of fish, it's just how I am. I prefer not eating fish. I think I was traumatized as a kid when I used to work as a fishmonger. I was gutting fish and ripping guts out, it was disgusting. So I tend not to eat too much fish. But when I do, I tend to go for salmon and also some of my steamed fresh fish that I like to microwave when I'm short on time. It's a good idea to implement this. I'm not gonna lie, being a little bit older now, I would like to eat more fish because it has good fats in it as well. But even saying that, there's also less fats than my red meats and also better for me to digest too. So be aware of that and see if you can start to implement this into your diet. Once again, with seasoning, make sure you do the same things as I mentioned before. Find a marinade, salt and pepper, or maybe just a nice slice of fish that's nice and fresh and cook it properly. That's probably the best thing about seafood. If you have a nice cut, you don't need to season it too much. Number 4, this is probably one of my underrated and most favorite ones, it's Greek yogurt. Now, I'm not sure where you are in the world watching this, but I like to use Chobani, and I like to use the blue tub, the big blue tub of plain, because it has 0 fat or very close to very little fats in it, but per serving it has 15 grams of protein. That's crazy when you think about it. That's a lot easier to digest. than red meat, unless you're lactose intolerant, of course. What I like to do is combine this with another one that I've listed on here to make sure that you can get more protein, but also it treats you kind of like an ice cream or a dessert. And what I'm going to talk about is mixing it with your protein powder. So I like to have a serving of this, plus some protein powder, mix it up, why not put some fresh berries in, and there you are. Depending on your serving size, if you have 1 scoop of protein and 1 serving of yogurt, right there you have about 40 grams of protein, and it's also like a dessert. It's delicious, it's something I've used a lot of the time. I've even got my wife doing it too. So why not try it for yourself? Like I said, number 5, it is one of the ones that I've implemented. It's protein powders, but this is also going to supplements. Now I was put this number 5 because I don't want you to think that you go straight into supplements. I would really like people to start emphasizing on wholesome nutrition food based. Once you've done that and you still can't get in, work on the basis of your nutrition using wholesome based foods and then supplement it with supplements. But you can't rely on supplements all the way, because at the end of the day, it's just a supplement. It's not going to solve all your problems. It's not the magic pill, but it can help you. And once again, mixing it into my Greek yogurt has been such a useful tool that I've been using it for so many years. Now, one thing I like about protein powders, it does get into a good habit. You can start implementing it to your post-workout routine. And I think a lot of people need to do this because even though you may not understand it, having your post-workout shake gets you a guaranteed 24 grams every single day that you train. And that's a great habit to have. This is nothing about optimal timing and when you need to get it and this anabolic window that used to be revolving all the time back, 10, 15 years ago. But really all I'm establishing is a good healthy habit to get your protein in. So why not try it? Now saying this, halfway through the list, are you actually implementing any of these, or have I given you any new ideas? The most favorite one I like to say once again is that protein powder and Greek yogurt mix. But here's a really weird one that you could probably use. I like to use that plain Greek yogurt as sour cream. So even when I'm making my burrito bowl from number 1, I like to put sour cream on top of it, but I want to have high protein still and low fat. So what I do is I use the Greek yogurt as a substitute. Have you tried that before? Let me know down below, because honestly, don't bag it, it's really good. Don't yuck my yum. Number 6 is egg whites. Now, I don't know if anyone here still uses egg whites. It's still recommended, to be honest, because it's 0 fat on it, but I just like to use wholesome eggs. So I'm just going to classify number 6 as just pure eggs. Eggs are a great source for you to have good cholesterols, as well as the fact that it's got protein in it. Now, one thing you need to understand is this one here has a high fat content compared to all the other protein sources I listed before. It's basically got for every 1 gram of fat, it's also got 1 gram of protein. So it's a 1-to-1 ratio, which is not as ideal, because in your daily intake, you're probably looking around a high amount of protein compared to fat in most people. So I like to use eggs sparingly, so that's where egg whites can come in useful. So have a look at it, see which one works well for you, and see how you can implement it. What you could possibly do is use egg whites and mix 1 egg into it so it still tastes a little bit nicer, but you also get some fat into your diet without increasing your overall day's intake. Number 7, I've started implementing a little bit more. It's turkey. Once again, I don't really like eating turkey by itself. I prefer turkey more so as a mince, and we actually started using this as well with the beef mince substitute, and we use it as taco bowls and burritos and everything as well. We even make it into a bit of like a larp style, where we have chicken, where we use like chili and spices, basil, when we eat it with our rice as well. So it's a really good supplement for you to implement, or a really good idea for you to use as well, just to give you different flavors, different textures. And the best part is turkey has a very much a reduced amount of fat compared to all your other meats, because it's a white meat. So why not give it a go, try it out, let me know how you go with that, or even saying that, give me a recipe if you already have one. Now this one here, maybe a lot of people don't like it. I like it personally because I grew up with it, and it's tofu. It's not as high in terms of protein intake, but it is very much a vegetarian and also vegan based sauce that you could use, and it's derived from beans as well. Now what we do with our tofu is we just grill it on the pan fry it, make it nice and crispy, make sure it's a little bit harder as well. Then we put some chili on top, nice and delicious. Mix that with some of your vegetables, mix that with some of your rice if you have rice, and also another protein source as well. I wouldn't rely as tofu as a main source of protein, but we do have it on the side as well every night when we do eat it. It's always a nice texture as well. And like I said, it's a low carbohydrate and also a high protein based source. So it's worth trying. If you don't like it, you don't have to, but tofu, a really good idea if you're vegan or vegetarian. Another good one that if you're vegan or vegetarian is actually beans. Now just understand that with the last two that I mentioned, they do still have carbohydrates in it. That's not a bad thing. If you think carbohydrates are bad, just know it's the daily intake and the total amount that you consume in a day. That's actually going to be more important rather than carbohydrates are bad. Anyway, we're not talking about that. Beans are a really good one to implement. Here's what I like to do with beans. I like to steam it with my rice and you have a good flavor with it and it's mixed in as well. You could also do that steaming it with your rice in the rice cooker. And then you could also add your meat as well. So that could be your beef or your turkey or your chicken mince or however you want to do it. And once again, turn it to a burrito bowl. Once again, I just like to make things easy. Burrito bowl tends to be the first thing that goes into my head, but you can implement it in any other way that you wish. So let me know if you have any ideas. Now this last one, number 10, I don't know if it's accessible across the world, but in Australia, we have access to kangaroo. That's right. It's probably one of the leanest meats that you can get in Australia. It's pretty tasty if you know how to cook it right, but it's also not everyone's flavor because we like to call it gamey. If you've tried kangaroo, let me know if you implement it every single day. Another thing that we can get in Australia is what we called bangers, which is basically kangaroo sausages. And it's actually a really good idea if you want to try and use it as well. So there you are, you have 10 different sources of protein. And I suggest that you try and use 3 or 4 of them and just rotate through them. Personally for me, I don't use all of these. Most popular ones I like to use are beef mince, turkey mince, beef itself, and then by that I like to use also protein powders and also Greek yogurt, and those are my top 5. Tofu we like to implement probably about once or twice per week. Fish is probably about once per week as well. Kangaroo I haven't used in a few years because I like to rotate with the previous 6. And then saying that, it depends on what happens on the day. But most of the foods that you have here, you'll be able to implement at least 3 or 4 of them pretty easily on a daily basis. And if you can't, let me know. We can try and find a way for you. Once again, thank you for watching this. If you feel like this is useful, please comment, like, share, or subscribe. I feel like this is going to help you long term if you really try and find a way to implement it straight away. And if not, have a watch again in a few weeks. Once again, guys, give it a go. If you get stuck, let me know and let's build momentum.